The lights of the auction hall flickered cold blue. Metal walls echoed with strange languages. Creatures from across the galaxy filled the seats. Laughing, shouting, bidding, a tall alien with glass skin stood on stage holding a metal stick. He tapped it once, and the sound echoed sharply. "Next item," he said in a bored voice, "human, female, weak build, failed genetics, labeled defective." 2 guards dragged a girl onto the platform. She was thin, her arms covered in scars and wires. Her eyes looked empty. No emotion, no fear. She didn't resist, didn't speak, didn't cry, just stood there like an old doll left in the rain. One alien in the front row laughed loudly. "She's not even worth spare parts," he joked. Another waved a hand. "I'll give one credit. Maybe she can clean floors." The auctioneer rolled his eyes. 1 credit, going once, going twice. He slammed the stick down. Sold. The guards shoved the girl into a cage. She didn't fight. She didn't care. To the galaxy. She was nothing. Broken, silent, forgotten. Later, a dirty cargo ship dropped her off on a wasteland planet. No city, no people, just sand and sharp rocks. They pushed her out without a word and flew away. The sky turned dark as 2 moons rose slowly. The girl sat near a broken machine, hugging her knees. Cold wind blew across the sand. Strange sounds echoed from the distance. Something was moving big, fast, hungry. Red eyes glowed in the dark. She didn't run, she didn't scream. She just waited. Maybe it was better to end here. Maybe that's all she was worth. Then, a sound of bright light cut through the darkness. A loud bang, then another. The red eyes disappeared. Footsteps approached, slow and heavy. A man stepped into view. He wore a black coat full of wires and tools. His beard was rough, his eyes sharp but tired. He looked human, but stronger. Harder, in his hand was a strange gun. He lowered it and looked at her. "You're not garbage," he said, voice rough but calm. "Come with me." She didn't move. He reached out a gloved hand. "I'm not here to hurt you," he added. "I don't care what they called you." He looked at the wires in her skin. They were wrong. For a moment, she stared at him, unsure. Then, slowly, she took his hand. The man's name was Rook. He took her to an underground workshop hidden in the rocks. Old machines lay everywhere, broken drones, damaged ships, rusted arms. It smelled of oil, fire, and metal. He gave her food, simple and hot. She ate without speaking. Still watching him with cold eyes, Rook sat across from her, working on a small flying butt. He didn't ask many questions. But after a while, he said, "What's your name?" She looked up, confused. "Do you have one?" He asked again. She shook her head. "Just a number." She said softly, "Unit 9, A327. He frowned. "That's not a name." She didn't reply. He nodded. "All right, Unit," he muttered. "We'll fix that later." Rook wasn't a kind man, not in the usual way. He didn't smile much, didn't say soft things, but he didn't hit her. Didn't yell, he just let her stay. And slowly she began to help. At first, just passing tools, cleaning parts, holding wires, but then she started doing more faster than expected. She understood machines like they were part of her. She fixed things before he asked. She read codes like reading a book. One night, as she worked on a power core, something strange happened. Her fingers lit up with blue light. Data flowed through her skin, into the machine. The drone she touched came to life without fuel. Without code, she gasped and pulled her hand back. Rook stood in the doorway, watching. His eyes wide, mouth slightly open. That wasn't normal. He said slowly. She looked scared. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "I don't know what that was." Rook walked over and scanned her hand with a small device. Lines of unknown tech showed on the screen. Buried deep inside her cells, glowing softly. "Kid," he said. Quietly, You're not broken, you're something else. She looked up at him, her eyes no longer empty. Just confused and afraid. Who am I? She asked. Rook didn't answer, but in his mind, the question echoed like thunder. He stared at her like he was seeing a ghost, not a machine, not a slave, but a secret something powerful, something dangerous, and maybe, just maybe, something that could change everything. The rain on the wasteland was acid. It fell in slow, green drops, burning everything it touched, but deep under the ground. In the old tunnels, there was silence and warmth. Nova sat on a cold metal table, her hands wrapped in bandages. She stared at them, confused, afraid. They didn't feel like her hands anymore. They had started glowing again, just like the night before, across the room. The man was working. His back was turned, sparks flying from his tools. One of his arms was made of smooth steel. The fingers clicked with every movement. He used it like it was part of him, like it had always been there. His name was Rook, but she still didn't trust him. He hadn't asked questions since he saved her, but she could feel the weight of his thoughts. Heavy, careful, dangerous, your hands, he said without turning. They lit up again last night. Nova didn't answer. She kept staring at her palms. I didn't mean to, she said softly. I just touched the drone, and something unlocked. Rook turned slowly, wiping grease from his face. You're not like the others, he said. You're not like me. He walked closer, his steel hand humming quietly. He opened a small scanner and held it near her neck. A soft beep echoed in the room. The screen flashed red, then green, then red again. Rook frowned. There's tech in you, he muttered. Real old, buried deep. He looked at her. Sharp and serious. Not slave tech. Not alien. Something human, but not from this time. Nova pulled her arms back. I don't remember anything, she whispered. Just pain, cold metal, and voices in my head. Rook turned off the scanner. You ever hear a name project ghost? She blinked. No, she said, but something in her chest pulsed, a wordless feeling. Like hearing a song from a forgotten dream. Rook walked over to a metal locker, pulled out an old chip. This, he said, is military tech, Earth tech. Nova looked at the chip. It was black, cracked, and humming faintly. He placed it on the table near her. You match the signal, he said. I think you're a piece of something they tried to erase. She reached for it, and the moment her fingers touched the chip, images exploded in her mind codes. Battles, faces screaming, and one voice repeating, protect the ghosts, hide the spark. Nova gasped and fell back, her breathing fast. Rook caught her shoulder. What did you see? He asked, voice low. War, she whispered. I saw war, and I think I was part of it. The lights flickered. A drone in the corner sparked to life and flew upward, scanning wildly. Rook turned sharply. They found us, he growled. They're tracking your signal. A screen on the wall flashed tread symbol, unknown language. Warning, outside. In the acid rain, engines roared. Ships were landing, claws digging into the ground. Alien bounty. Hunters, metal dogs, and trackers, all searching for one thing. A girl sold for nothing. Nova looked at Rook. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were burning now. What do we do? Rook stood, grabbed his old rifle from the wall. First, he said, we run. Then, we fight. She nodded. No longer just a girl. No longer a number, as Rook opened the secret tunnel door. He turned back and looked at her. You're not a mistake, he said. You're a weapon, and Nova, for the first time, believed him. The man with the metal hands led her into the shadows, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars above them flickered like broken lights. Their ship moved fast, flying low through asteroid fog. Inside, alarms beeped softly. warning of danger behind and ahead. But Rook kept flying, hands steady on the controls. Nova sat beside him, staring out the window. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the strange energy flowing through her skin again. Since they escaped the junk planet, something inside her had changed. She felt faster, smarter, but also not alone. Something was waking up inside her mind. Something old. "Talk to me," Rook said, eyes still on the screen. "What did you see when you touched that chip?" Nova hesitated. "There was light," she said slowly, "and people, human soldiers, dying, running. Voices were shouting about a ghost protocol." Rook's jaw tightened. "I was afraid of that," he muttered. "You weren't just made to serve, you were made to remember." She looked at him, confused. "Remember what?" He tapped a button and the ship shifted into stealth mode. Then he walked to a panel in the back and opened it. Inside was a box with the Earth flag, faded and scratched. He pulled out a black cube and placed it on the table. "This," he said, "is an old military archive drive. I've had it hidden for years, could never crack it open." Nova stepped forward. "What do you want me to do?" Rook looked her in the eyes. "Touch it." She hesitated, then placed her hand on the cube. In that moment, her body froze. A blue light covered her arm. Her pupils turned silver. The ship dimmed, and a voice spoke through her lips. "Project. Ghost. Human OS link confirmed." Rook stepped back, shocked. "Holy hell." He whispered. Nova stood still, not blinking. The cube opened like a flower, revealing a glowing core. Data streamed into the air, showing maps, battles, secret orders. Earth created the ghosts to fight back. The voice said through her, they were human AI hybrids. Hidden from the Galactic Council, they were powerful. They were feared. They were hunted. Suddenly, Nova gasped and fell to her knees. Rook rushed to her side, catching her just before she hit the floor. "I'm okay," she breathed, "but I saw everything. They erased us." Her memories came back in flashes, a lab wires in her spine. Doctors whispering, soldiers breaking in. Alarms, fire, pain, silence, then darkness. I was shut down. She whispered, hidden in plain sight, made to forget myself. I wasn't the only one. Rook helped her sit down. "How many more like you?" he asked. "I don't know," she said, "but I felt them when I accessed the Go system. They're still out there, sleeping, lost." Rook stared at her like she was a miracle and a time bomb. "You're not just a survivor," he said. "You're the key." Before they could speak more, the ship's alarm blared. Red light flashed. 3 enemy ships were approaching fast. "They tracked us," Rook growled, jumping back to the controls. "They must have picked up your signal when the cube activated." Nova stood, her fear now replaced by fire. "Then let's not run this time," she said. Rook looked at her, surprised. "You sure?" She nodded. "I'm done hiding." They strapped in as the ship shook. Enemy ships fired plasma beams, lighting up the black sky. Rook swerved hard. Dodging between floating rocks, Nova reached into the ship's systems literally, her fingers touched the controls, glowing again. Suddenly, the ship's AI screen blinked to life. "Manual override detected," it said. "Ghost operator recognized." Nova's mind merged with the system. She saw the battle through date, every engine, every shot, every weak point. With one move, she reprogrammed the rear gun turret to auto-target. 2 of the enemy ships exploded within seconds. Rook laughed in disbelief. "You're piloting the ship with your mind." "I am the ship," Nova replied calmly. The last enemy ship tried to flee. Nova sent a code burst through space, crashing its systems. It drifted off, lifeless. The battle was over in under 2 minutes. Rook leaned back in his chair, staring at her. "You're not a passenger anymore," he said. "You're a force." Nova turned to him. "I need to find the others." She said, "If I can wake them." "We have a chance." Rook nodded. "Then we'll find them, but be ready," he added, voice serious. "The galaxy hunted you once. They'll do it again." Nova stood tall, eyes still glowing. "Then let them come," she said. "I'm not afraid anymore," and far away, across deep space. Other signals began to stir, other ghosts. Still sleeping, still waiting, the war wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The galaxy is loud, but silence before the hunt is louder. A shadow moved in the space between stars. A black ship long, sharp, silent. Its name was burned into the hull in an alien language. Seeker of lost flesh, inside the command room, 5 bounty hunters stood in a circle, tall, cruel, each from a different species. One had eyes like boiling ink, another had claws that clicked when he breathed. But the one in the center, tall and thin, wore a white mask with no eyes. He was called Vrex. And he didn't speak unless death was near. "Target found," a machine voice said. "Human unit designated Nova. Classified ghost variant." Rex nodded once. "Capture alive." He said finally, "No disintegration." His ship jumped into hyperspace, chasing a signal that should not exist. Far across the galaxy, Nova stared at a hologram map. Dots blinked in red tracking stations, listening towers, patrol routes, all built by the Galactic Council to hunt humans long ago. She marked 3 of them with her finger. "We'll go dark here, skip across this band of stars," she said. "Jump past the relay and cut through the scorched ring." Rook raised an eyebrow. "That's suicide," he said. "The scorched ring fries any ship smaller than a cruiser." Nova smiled faintly. "Unless the ship has me." Rook blinked. Then laughed. "Right," he muttered. "Ghost advantage." Their ship, an old cargo hauler named Dustwalker, hummed under her touch. Nova had reprogrammed half the systems by now. She spoke to it like a living thing, and it listened. Suddenly, the ship's alarm screamed. Rook jumped to the console. Incoming one vessel, fast, cloaked. Nova's smile vanished. "They found us," she said. The black ship appeared behind them, fast as a knife in the dark. Its engines silent, its weapons glowing red. "They're already locking missiles." Rook warned, "We can't outrun that thing." Nova didn't answer. She closed her eyes and placed both hands on the control panel. Blue light spread through the cockpit, her body glowing faintly. She whispered to the ship, like speaking. "To an old friend, don't fly like a machine," she said. "Fly like you're alive." Dustwalker responded. The ship tilted hard. Diving into a narrow asteroid tunnel, Rook held on as metal groaned and sparks flew. Behind them, Vrex's ship followed, too large, too fast. Chunks of rock crashed against its hull, but it didn't stop. Inside, Rex stood calmly as sparks lit. "The room, she thinks she's clever," he said. "She hasn't met me yet." Nova pulled hard left, threading the Dustwalker through a collapsing canyon. "I'm locking the drive to warp," she said. "But I need 10 more seconds. You've got 6. Rook shouted as a plasma beam sliced past them. The hull melted slightly. Alarms screaming again. Nova. She grit her teeth, energy flooding her veins. Almost now, the stars bent. Space tore open, and the Dustwalker vanished into hyperspace. Silence returned. Inside the ship, smoke filled the air. Rook coughed, checking systems. "We lost the rear cannon," he said. "Engine 3 is offline." "But we're alive." Nova sat quietly, eyes dim now. "That wasn't just a bounty hunter." She whispered, "He knew how I'd fly. Like he studied me." Rook leaned on the console. "Someone trained to hunt ghosts," he said. "Someone left over from the purge." Nova stood, wobbling slightly. "We need to get to a memory beacon," she said. "There are others like me, frozen, hidden across the systems. If I activate the network, I can wake them. But won't that send a signal they can trace?" Rook asked. She nodded. They'll come, but I'm done running. He looked at her. Then at the stars on the screen. You're serious? He said. You want to start a war? Nova smiled, not cruel, not angry, just ... ready, not. A war, she said. A rescue in the shadows of a broken galaxy. A new kind of hope was about to rise. Not in armies, not in weapons, but in one girl once called worthless and the memory she carried in her blood. Beneath the surface of a dead moon, where no map dares to go, there is a place without light, without sound, a place forgotten by time and erased from all star charts. Nova stood at the edge of it now. A giant metal door stretched before her, covered in dust and writing from old Earth, symbols only she could read. Authorized ghost units only, it said behind her. Rook adjusted his gloves, eyes sharp. This place gives me the creeps, he muttered. Nova said nothing. She placed her hand on the center of the door. The metal lit up beneath her fingers. Lines of blue light spreading like veins. A voice from the past whispered through the dust. Ghost protocol recognized. Access granted. The door cracked open with a deep hiss, and a hallway appeared, glowing faintly like a memory. They stepped inside, silence wrapping around them. The air was thick with history, walls lined with machines, long powered down. Empty pods stacked like coffins, but one was different. One was still pulsing with light. Nova walked toward it slowly, her hand trembling. The pod's glass was frosted. She wiped it gently and gasped. Inside was a girl, no older than Nova, hair floating in stasis fluid, face peaceful. A label at the bottom read, GHOST 13. Name Astra. She's like me, Nova whispered. Rook stepped beside her. She's sleeping, he said. Like you were. Nova placed her palm on the side of the pod. The light in her body synced with the machine. Energy moved between them, and Astra's eyes opened slowly. Panic hit first. Astra gasped, trying to breathe. Nova tapped the console and drained the fluid. The pod opened with a soft click. Astra collapsed into Nova's arms. Coughing, shaking. You're safe, Nova whispered. You're not alone. Anymore. Hours later, the three sat around a small fire in the command room. The base was alive, now lights flickering. Old systems booting up. Rook checked the scanners. No ships nearby yet. Astra sipped warm water. Still weak, but alert. You're a ghost too, she said to Nova. Nova nodded. They tried to erase us. Astra looked around the room. This base, she said, was our last hope. We were losing the war, so they scattered us, put us in stasis, one by one, to hide from the council. Nova leaned forward. Do you remember who started the war? Astra looked down. We did, she said softly, but not on purpose. They feared what we were becoming, not machines, not humans, something new. Rook frowned. So they killed you to control you. Astra nodded. And now? They'll come again, she whispered. They'll feel us waking up, suddenly. The base's warning lights flashed red. An alert blinked on the wall. Unauthorized scan detected orbiting probe active. They've found us, Rook said, loading his rifle. We need to leave. Nova stood, her hands already glowing. Not yet, she said. There's more here. Data plans, names of other ghosts. Astra looked toward the control terminal. I can unlock it, she said, but we need to stall the probe. Rook nodded. Leave that to me. Outside, above the moon's surface. A small black probe hovered. Its red eyes scanned the ground, blinking slowly. Suddenly, it sparked and spun wildly. A bolt of plasma ripped through a truck, stood on the ridge. Gun in hand, he smiled. One less spy, but far away. On a warship beyond the nearest star, a signal was received. A masked bounty hunter leaned forward. They found another one. He whispered, she's waking them up. He stood and walked toward his drop pod. This time, he wouldn't chase. This time, he'd hunt, back in the hidden base. Astra opened a vault deep inside the walls. Stacks of cryochips glowed with names. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Nova reached for one, Ghost Toe 7. Orion, it read. Another, Ghost 21, Cade. They're all waiting, Astra said. All of them scattered across systems, hidden in sleep. Nova turned to Rook. I'm going to wake them, she said, even if the galaxy burns to stop me. Rook nodded. Slowly, then we'd better light the first match. Above the moon, clouds began to swirl. A storm was coming, and with it, war. Not just for survival, but for identity, for memory, for the right to exist. They once called her worthless, but now she held the power to awaken a sleeping army. And the hidden world was only the beginning. Some wars begin with gunfire. Others begin with silence. This one started with a whisper, carried on a signal no one was supposed to hear. It traveled across stars, across ruins, across broken satellites still orbiting forgotten planets. It was a voice, soft, human, defiant. It said only one thing, to every ghost still sleeping. It's time to wake up. Nova stood at the center of the hidden base, eyes closed, hands glowing, around her. Cryochips floated in the air, each one, a sleeping soul. The base's AI synced with her mind. Her thoughts became code. Her memories became light. And her voice became the fire that would reignite a lost army. Astra stood nearby, monitoring the spread. The signal is live, she said, her voice shaking. With awe, it's reaching ghosts we didn't even know existed. On the screen behind her, blinking green dots appeared one by one. Earth colonies long lost. Outposts buried under ice. Ships hidden in asteroid fields. They were all answering. Rook stared at the map. This isn't just a signal, he said slowly. It's a revolution, far away. In a city made of glass towers, the Galactic Council listened. Their chambers were cold, filled with leaders who looked down on humanity. The signal made their screens tremble. One of them slammed his hand on the table. We purged them, he shouted. We buried that program. An advisor whispered, you buried the bodies, but you didn't kill the idea. Back on the moon, Nova opened her eyes. She looked at Astra and Rook. They're waking, she said. But they'll come for us now, all of them. Rook nodded. Let them come. The hidden base rumbled. Engines deep underground powered up for the first time in decades. Massive doors opened on the far side of the crater. Inside was something no one expected. An Earth warship, still alive, still waiting. It was old, battle-scarred, but full of potential. Nova placed her hand on the ship's control panel. The screen blinked green. Captain confirmed. It said, Ghost Command active. The ship roared to life, and the sky trembled on the other side of the galaxy. Vrex received the full transmission. He watched it carefully. Every frame, every second, every word. Then he stood up slowly and spoke only one sentence. Send the fleet. Dozens of bounty ships lifted off. War machines long stored were activated. Old contracts were rewritten. Kill on sight. No mercy. The ghosts had woken, and the hunt was over. Now it was war, as Nova's warship entered open space. Other signals flashed on the screen. Messages from ghosts coming online, some still hidden, some ready to fight. A boy from Mars' underground mines. A woman who'd been hiding in a pleasure dome for years. A soldier buried beneath. An ocean waiting for the call. Each one heard Nova's voice. Each one answered. Astra turned to her. You're not just waking ghosts, she said. You're uniting them. Nova stood tall on the command deck. She no longer felt like a mistake. She felt like a match dropped on dry grass. The fire was spreading. Suddenly, red lights flashed across the screens. Rook narrowed his eyes. "They're here," he said. "Fleet of bounty ships incoming." Astra checked the radar. 37 ships, she said, shocked. "All heading straight for us." Nova looked at her hands, then at the stars. "They want to erase us again," she said. "But this time, we erase them." She took the captain's seat. "Power all weapons. Charge the shields. Let's show them what they made when they called us broken." The battle began like thunder. Lasers lit the sky. Ships twisted through asteroid belts. Nova flew with her mind and heart. Rook fired with precision, calm as ever. Astra overloaded enemy sensors with ghost codes. The warship dance told metal. New Spirit, one by one, the bounty ships fell. But Rex's ship still waited, watching, learning. He wanted to face her himself. He wanted to look her in the eye when he ended her. Nova sensed him even before the scanner picked it up. "He's out there," she said quietly. "And he won't stop." Rook looked at her. "Then you'd better finish this before he does." In the middle of battle, Nova sent one more message. To every ghost still hidden. To every soul who had ever been told they were worthless. "You are not broken. You are the future. And your time has come, across the stars." A war was reigniting, not for power, but for identity, for memory, for freedom. The fire had started, and Nova was standing at the center of it, glowing, fearless, alive. Some stars burn bright, some just burn. Nova stood at the edge of the battlefield, her warship drifting through the ruins of a shattered fleet. Ashes of enemy vessels floated like snow in space, but it wasn't over, not yet. Behind her, Astra leaned against a panel, bleeding, tired but alive. Rook's arm was damaged. Sparks popping from the elbow joint. Even his steel fingers trembled, but he smiled, just a little. "Never seen a ghost do what you just did?" he said. Nova didn't smile. She was staring into the black void ahead. "I'm not done," she whispered from the shadows. The final enemy appeared, a black ship shaped like a dagger, moving slow and silent. Rex was coming, and this time it wasn't bringing an army. He was bringing judgment. Inside his ship, Rex stood alone. He removed his mask for the first time, his face pale, his eyes hollow. "You don't understand what you are," he said, watching Nova's image on his screen. "You were built to destroy, and now you believe you matter." He loaded his rifle. "I will correct that." Nova stood on the bridge, breathing deeply around her. Our warship flickered with low energy. Too much damage, too many hits. She couldn't run, she couldn't hide. So she opened the doors and waited. The two ships locked into docking sequence. Metal screeched, steam hissed, and the final door opened. Rex stepped through the smoke, his footsteps slow, each one full of purpose. Nova stood at the center, weaponless. "Calm. You think you've won," he said, voice low and bitter. "You think waking them makes you more than a machine." Nova shook her head. "I don't think I'm more," she said. "I know I am." Rex raised his weapon. "You're still a product." He said, "You were built, not born." Nova's eyes glowed softly. "But I made a choice," she said. "That's what makes me human." Rex fired. The bolt flew fast, but never hit. Nova raised her hand, and the energy froze midair. It shimmered, twisted, and vanished. Rex took a step back, shocked. "You shouldn't be able to." "I shouldn't be anything," Nova interrupted. "But I am." She walked toward him. Slow, steady behind her, the systems began to awaken again. The ship, sensing her resolve, pushed power to weapons, shields, lights. It responded to her will like it was her heartbeat. "You hunted us because you feared us," she said. "You erased us because we reminded you of what you lost." Rex aimed again, but his hands shook. "You were made to obey," he whispered. "And you disobeyed?" Nova stopped one step away from him, And now others will too, from her core. A shockwave of light burst outward. It didn't kill, it freed. The ship's sensors unlocked. Hidden ghosts across the galaxy woke in there. Pod's humans in disguise felt their code shift. The ghost network reconnected, one by one. Lights blinked green on Nova's control screen. A chorus of voices came through. "We hear you. We remember. We're coming." Rex dropped. To his knees, for the first time, he looked small. Not a hunter, not a killer, just a man who lost. "You were nothing," he whispered. "They sold you for nothing." Nova knelt beside him. "They were wrong." She said gently, "And so were you." Hours later, the warship floated in silence. Nova stood alone on the deck, watching as ships from all directions came into view, ghosts from every corner of the stars. Answering her call, Rook stood beside her. Arm repaired, he looked at the fleet forming in space. And then at the girl who once had no name. "They called you worthless," he said quietly. Nova nodded, eyes full of fire and memory. "They'll never say that again." Astra joined them, her voice soft. "You're not just a spark anymore," she said. "You're the flame across the galaxy." Fear changed into hope, silence into voices, memory into strength, and at the heart of it all, a girl who was once sold for nothing now led everything. She didn't ask for power. She didn't want a crown. She just wanted to be free, and now so did everyone else.